Hi, Roger Bindle here at the WSGA 101st Annual Conference. I'm with Dave Russell with Calyx, but also the Fiber to the Home Council, and talked about the smart grid. But I actually had a question on putting things into perspective. Fiber to the home in the metropolitan area versus the farm, rural areas, fiber to the farm. If you could put that into perspective on the pros and cons to both, I guess.
Well, the Fiber to the Home Council has actually submitted a lot of data over the last couple years to the FCC on this as part of the input on the National Broadband Plan. And what we've found is that there's no question that as you go out and into rural areas, the cost to do fiber to the home goes up because you have to cover fewer homes in more area. On the other hand, what we've also found is the construction costs in rural areas generally are quite low from getting right-of-ways, access to poles, things like that. So what we found is while in general you can say that the costs are higher in rural areas, when you get into urban areas, sometimes the costs actually exceed those in rural areas because of inadequate conduit or lack of aerial plant and things like that. So it's generally we found the range to be from $1,500 per home passed and up, depending on housing density. But then there are these other factors that can drive costs up in urban areas.
So you've got the option for fiber to the node, I guess, when you get into the city, so that would be the other option then.
Right. I mean, with the short loop lengths of VDSL2, that makes a lot of sense in some of those higher density areas. Whereas when you get into the rural areas, the cost to get that close to the consumer just increase dramatically, and then you might as well do the fiber to the home.
Yeah. And I'm quite amazed because here in Wisconsin we have several locations where we have fiber to the farm, and I guess there's got to be a cutoff point there, so many miles that it gets to be comparable.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously a complicated formula because you have a lot of variables coming in, but there's probably 35 to 40 operators in Wisconsin doing fiber to the home. There's only a couple that have done fiber to the home to every subscriber. So most people will do a mixture of fiber to the home. Many people have done VDSL2 or intend to do VDSL2 in town. And then if they want to offer a ubiquitous service, they'll do fiber to the home outside of the town, because they can't achieve those bandwidths with the VDSL2 outside the town.
And I probably shouldn't throw this glitch into it, but I'm going to anyways. Some feel that wireless is the panacea solution to all, but it tends to probably more have a place, and maybe you could address that a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's unarguable that wireless is great for mobility. If you're going to do mobile services, and I think what the wireless folks are going to be very good at is being able to do even video down to your mobile device. But at the end of the day, that's a small screen. And where we've been, particularly with the FCC, trying to educate them, is the bandwidths required to do video to a consumer who wants to watch television or IP video over the internet on a larger screen, like a 23 or inch to even the large screens. That requires a lot of bandwidth. So the wireless carriers are not going to be able to provide those services ubiquitously. When they talk about bandwidths, they're usually talking about shared bandwidths over many subscribers. So, unfortunately, in some of the policy making, people aren't cognizant of those limitations. So on average, the wireless operators will not be able to provide the consumer services people are used to in their homes.
So it might be a short-term solution that gets backed up with fiber or well, probably not so much copper anymore, but fiber or something else as an alternative anyways.
Yeah, I mean, our fear, and this morning Shirley Bloomfield's talked about this. Our fear is that we're very opposed to this reverse auction scenario, because the reverse auction scenario that's being proposed could potentially allow people to come in and then destroy the business case for the people that are already the wired solution, and then the community would be left with no alternative except this short-shrifted wireless option.
So that basically would be a quick, because I've seen this in various places where they go in with a wireless solution, but it's not a long term. It's to get customers, and once you get them, then you put facilities out there. So that's a big fear with that.
Right, with a rural carrier like the folks here at the WSTA, you don't have that fear because they're committed to the local community. But if a Verizon Wireless comes in, wins the reverse auction, Verizon Wireless is not going to have any intention of putting wireline in over time. So those people would essentially be abandoned to these low bit rate wireless services. That's our fear.
And it could reverse itself again in a few years when they all got tired of that.
Right. Yeah. Politically, that's an untenable situation.
Well, it's an interesting time, I guess. So I appreciate your time.
Sure. Thank you.
We'll catch you this afternoon, I guess, maybe with the smart grid.
Right. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.